Today on the Quarter Hour podcast, we present part 2 with radio's little Aussie expat from Townsville to Toronto. He's living an amazing radio journey.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Stanton, and I am reluctantly today's guest on the Quarter Hour podcast.
I don't want to scare you, but I think I have a very, very mild man cold.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you. Lots of sympathy, please, because man colds, they shouldn't be taken lightly.
Of course
And you know that there's variations of them. There's the hemfluenza, the bronchitis, and, of course, the very deadly Ebola.
Right. Yes. Forgot about that one.
And we always say that women don't understand what a man cold is, but...
Of course not.
But I think you do a little bit. Like God made childbirth painful so that you could have a sense, just a sense, of what guys go through when we have a man cold.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway.
Have you updated your will?
Oh, good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Don't mock. Don't mock. Thoughts and prayers, Mel. Thoughts and prayers.
Hi and welcome to the Quarter Hour podcast. I'm your host, Liam Renton, and today is part 2, our chat with radio royalty Ronnie Stanton. He's worked in Karratha, he's worked in Wagga Wagga, he's done time in Townsville, launched Nova 100 in Melbourne, and then launched Hot 91 on the sunny coast, where he worked with Chrissy Swan. Then he needed an adventure, which is where we pick up today's podcast, as Ronnie embarked on getting a radio job in Canada.
And I got offered this job to flip Virgin Radio Vancouver on, and I was like, I have to go do that. The other weird thing, do you know what the Coriolis effect is? It's a nerdy physics thing. It's why water goes down a drain in the opposite directions in the Southern Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere. So my great mentor in the Southern Hemisphere was a guy called Phil Bradley, who we just talked about. Hi, Phil. And a guy who hired me in Vancouver's name was Brad Phillips. I was like, oh, it's the Coriolis effect of radio.
Wow.
And Brad and I worked together for years. Like, he polished the diamond with me. He taught me so much stuff and helped me with, the nuances of how North American radio is different to Australian radio and all of that, and just learned so much and ended up overseeing all of the Virgins in Canada. We launched 9 of them, which was a great job. And then head of programming at Corus. So we had 39 stations, including the biggest talk network, which was, just a new thing to learn. But all of that time, I was like, this is so much fun, but gee, I miss being on the radio.
A number of Canadian questions. Run me through how Virgin Radio works, because if I know it correctly, it leases frequencies, doesn't it? Sort of hires frequencies for years and just takes their whole programming in. Is that how it works?
Canada's different to the other Virgins around the world, but essentially the Canadian company leases the brand, if you like. Then there's no oversight, particularly from Virgin head office. You can't do certain things and have to do other certain things, but more than anything, it's just a licensing of the brand. That's what it is.
Run us through Canadian radio. Peel off a couple of stations you've worked out we may have seen online or may have seen in socials. And how does Canadian radio differ from Australian radio?
Well, I think it doesn't. Bottom line, it doesn't. What differs is Australia is different to Canada. And any great radio station, any great media brand reflects the market that it's in. So I had the privilege for 10 years of running a station in Vancouver called CFOX, which is the legendary Canadian rock station, if you like. It just happens to be in Vancouver. So think Triple M, but it's the Canadian version. And, musically, kind of really similar to what Triple M was when it was a rock brand. It played all the stuff. It played the new Black Keys and AC/DC and all of that. But being Canadian, obviously it played Canadian stuff. So instead of Powderfinger, we'd play the Tragically Hip. And then attitudinally, it was Canadian, because we're talking to Canadian audiences. So, replace the footy talk with the hockey talk. And then, the tonality has to be shifted to adjust to the city. Canadians are softer than Australians. Australians are brasher. I mean that with love. I'm Australian, but Canadians are gentler. You can say things on Australian radio you just couldn't say here. You just can't get away with it here because they're different countries. But how are they different? They're not. Maybe the only real difference is that there's many more stations. So Vancouver's kind of the size of Brisbane, and Vancouver has 16 FMs, and they're all commercials. So there's heaps more competition than there is in Brisbane with, eight signals or whatever the number is. So it's busier, it's more competitive, but at its heart, it's the same.
I mean, you then find yourself in a new town, which just happens to be the biggest city in Canada, Toronto. You've got to build a brand new show for 2026.
Yeah.
Is building a show now different to what it was, back in the year 2000? How do you decide on the benchmarks and the segments? How do you piece a new show together?
Well, it's totally different because social media is a thing now, because audiences' habits have completely changed. We don't all watch the same TV show on Tuesday night anymore. Everyone's binging different things, and there's greater fragmentation and all of that stuff. So I think trying to decide where the context is, where the common threads are for the audience is harder today than it used to be. But with that, there's also stuff that's easier. We were talking about noise making before. You can do things on social media today that allow you to market to the audience every day with, actual audio and real stuff, where in the early 2000s, people would have to listen to the radio station to hear a replay bit. So, as much as there's change, there's also opportunity.
What about benchmarks and segments? What are you doing in your show these days?
We do 2 benchmarks. Neither of them are reinventions of the wheel, particularly. We do a silly statistical kind of question at 6 a.m. Yep. No different to what Chrissy and I did, honestly. I still believe it wakes the audience up and it wakes us up. And because there's a bunch of calls coming in, you can mine those calls for things that you're going to do later in the show. So I still love that. And then at 7, we do a thing called Smarty Pants, which is essentially 5 questions to the player and then the same 5 questions to me, and I've got to try and beat them. And if they beat me, they win the thing. Again, nothing new, but memorable, fun, lots of room for silliness. The 5 questions, we always make sure that 2 of them are focused around events that have happened in the last few days, so that there's context wherever we can force it in. They sound great. And then the rest of the show is, phoners and bits where we're talking about the stuff that makes today. In many ways, no different to what we were doing. I think maybe there's been a greater shift away from self-indulgence, that content, because there's so much competition now and so many different places that the audience can go to find entertainment, that the bar's been lifted. But that's a great challenge every morning. What
do Canadians think of an Aussie voice coming out their speakers?
I think mostly good. I get the occasional text, you stole a job that should be a Canadian's job. I'm like, yeah, I've got the passport. I've been here 20 years.
Dual citizen.
Yeah, but I get it. It's funny, as a programmer, I have always been anti-accent on the radio. I've always kind of been against it. But I think in 2026 you see like the John Olivers of the world, who's British but very popular in America. I think there's an opportunity now with the accent that perhaps it gives us memorability, which is one of those core 3 ingredients. So I'm banking on that being right. We'll check back in a year and I'll let you know.
Is there a place for Aussies on radio overseas, and where and how?
Well, I think Australian radio is very, very highly regarded industry-wide, internationally. There is great respect for the richness of the content that Australian radio produces, the boldness of the content that Australian radio produces, that we do stuff that I think lots of countries would be too scared to do. And that's awesome. Audiences, no matter what the country is, it doesn't matter if it's the United Kingdom or Kazakhstan. People want to be informed and entertained. And if you can do that in a unique and memorable way that's going to attract audience, then there's opportunity.
Hey, Ronnie, teach me something. You were a music director for many years. What are your basic rules of being an MD?
Play the best songs more often. You'd be surprised how few music directors do that. I think the curse of the music director, and I did this at Nova Melbourne. I'm sure it's what got me fired. That or my general attitude. But the curse of the music director is to play the favourites, to to walk into a music meeting excited about new song X versus how do we extract every drop of goodness out of the songs we're already playing, if they're the right ones. To look at music, scheduling, and those systems mathematically versus artistically, I think would be the piece of advice I'd give.
What's your universe? How many songs are you playing on your radio station?
Well, it depends on the station. If it's a classic hit station, you might have 500 or 600. If it's a top 40, you might have 200 or 300. In Canada, it's different too because we have pretty onerous Canadian content rules. We have to do 35%. Some stations have to do 40%.
Wow.
So that's going to punch up your universe size. It just is. And then the station I work at now that I get to program and do mornings on is called Z1035. Yes, we should say Z, but it's called Z. And it has a universe of kind of 500 songs, but that's not a realistic look. It's not an actual accurate look because we're a dance state. We're top 40, but we lean dance. And we play mixed shows 4 times a day. And, you play a minute of a song, that gives you a count of a song play. So those numbers are exaggerated.
What about some lessons for those that are on the air? What are you going to say to people that want to climb the ladder, do better, or get to bigger stations?
I think there's only 3 things that matter. Be focused on the audience, don't mess it up, and be memorable. And if you can dilute what you do Monday to Friday into those 3 buckets and make sure you're ticking off those things, you will be doing a better job than the team across the road, and your ratings will reflect that, and theoretically you'll climb the ladder.
Are we going to see you back on Australian radio?
One day, maybe. I don't know. I've always wanted to come home and work in Oz. It was kind of a phenomenon. I thought it was odd that I had great success over here, but because I had left Oz, I became an exotic bird and, could never really crack in for programming jobs. But now that I'm back on the radio, I have a recent tape, Liam, if you'd like to air check it.
Do you? I would actually. I've got some notes. I'll send them to you privately.
No. But I'm loving my job. I love this city. It's the biggest city in Canada, and we're having an absolute blast. So things are good.
Well, Ronnie Stanton, good luck in Toronto. Massive market, massive opportunity. Australian radio has been tuning in to this show, to this podcast. Say hello to some old friends. Who could be listening?
Oh, my God. Well, I used to work with Nene. We have to say hi to her. Obviously, Chrissy, Phil Bradley. There's that guy, Liam Renton. Oh, that's you. Wade Kingsley, your counterpart on this wonderful podcast. I caught up with Craig Bruce a few weeks ago at a conference here in Toronto.
Oh, right.
It's always nice to see Aussie faces. You're my people.
Mate, we're very proud of you, and watch from afar. If you're not following Ronnie or his radio station online, it's a masterclass in breakfast radio. I know you call it morning radio. It's always a bit weird when you say that, but it's breakfast radio.
It's so weird, isn't it?
It is
it's
weird.
Breakfast radio.
It is.
I agree.
And I just love it when I see you in your Gold Coast Hawaiian shirt, your beautiful blonde hair and those crazy glasses, and I just think, Ron Dog, it's just good to see you on socials. And being able to see you on socials. We couldn't do that 25 years ago. I can see you every day, it's amazing.
It's a whole new world. You're very kind. We're just trying to have fun and putting a spotlight on the moment. And watch this space because I feel like the audience is really enjoying what we're trying to do. So I'm hoping we have a exciting back end of 2026 and into forever.
Well, thank you, Ron Dog, as your friends would say. Ronnie Stanton, thank you for being our guest today on the Quarter Hour podcast.
Thanks for having me, Liam. You're awesome.
Those air check notes will be in the follow-up email, by the way.
I'll send you $50.
Oh,
There's
mate.
things to improve. I'll remove $5 from the 50 for every line. You'll owe me 110 by the time I've finished the email.
You know how it works. I start with a couple of positives, slip one in the middle, just work on this, and then and then at the end, by the way, that was amazing.
Yeah, I think that's called the shit sandwich, isn't it?